How's it going? I'm Jared Gillis. Today I had a modification that we did on the RV that has really impressed me, and I wanted to share it with you. It's a modification that we made in the bathroom, and when I started looking around, I realized there's quite a few modifications in this small space or accessories that we use there that's great for RVing, trying to save water, and just trying to make best use of a small space inside the RV. So let's dive into that and look at all the modifications that we have in our bathroom. So probably the first two modifications that we did in here, number one is we swapped out the faucet in here. I get tired of all the plastic products that they put inside of RVs, and the faucet being plastic. Originally, we swapped it out for a residential unit. And the nice thing about that is you have the diffuser on the bottom. So you can, if you're trying to save water, you can replace that diffuser to where you have a water saving diffuser at the end there. So it's not going to use as much water when you're washing your hands. So it's like having two modifications in one because of the faucet upgrade and then being able to upgrade the aerator. I keep calling it a diffuser, but it's a little aerator in here. You can see that the faucet came stock with a 1.2 gallons per minute aerator, and you can swap it out for all the way down to 0.5 gallons per minute. So substantially less water when you swap out the aerator. Now, there's actually two other things that we swapped out pretty much day one in the RV. The second after the faucet was the toilet. The one that came with our RV was just all plastic all around. This one that we swapped it out to has a porcelain bowl and a soft close wood enamel seats. They call it the full-time RV toilet. While it's still a toilet for the RV with the foot pedal flush and all that, it feels more like a residential toilet and not like an RV toilet. And I think that RV toilets are easier to swap out than residential home toilets because they don't have as much water storage and the P-trap built into the toilet, but a very similar process. The other modification that we had around the toilet was our water shutoff. We don't have a lot of the angle stops or water shutoffs throughout the entire RV. And so those were some things that we added when we were doing some upgrades. So even with that shutoff, it makes swapping out the toilet even easier because you have the water shutoff right there. You don't have to kill it to the entire RV if you're living in it full time or using it at the time. But moving on to another thing that almost everybody likes to upgrade or update inside of an RV is the shower head. And we have the Oxygenics. I know there's a couple of different models out there. This one, you have the selector on there to choose which kind of spray you would like on there. And it does give you a little bit better pressure. It's just a higher quality shower head than what the original one that came with the RV. But that brings us to the upgrade that I did that I've been really impressed with, and I just did it. And it's this shower valve. This is a thermostatic shower valve, and it's more than just what you see at first. You have the temperature control on the right-hand side, and you have the flow control on the left-hand side. And so at first glance, that's going to give you the benefit of being able to set your temperature and be able to turn off the water. This is going to be great, especially when you're off-grid, so that you can turn the water off when you're sudsing up to use less water for your shower, and then to be able to turn it back on. Oftentimes we use shutoffs at the shower head, which work great, but this one gives a few other added benefits in doing that. The one big thing that you don't see just by looking at it is the thermostatic properties of it. Inside there is not just a hot and cold mixture on the inside of that temperature control on the right hand side. It actually has some thermostatic properties. That means that it's able to adjust the mix of the hot and the cold depending on the temperature of the hot coming into it. That's going to give you a more consistent temperature of water coming back through the faucet when you turn it back on, because it's able to adjust of that hot and the cold that's kind of been cooling off inside the lines there to give you that consistent temperature. Because it has those thermostatic properties inside, it's able to adjust it so that you're not going to get that blast of cold when turning the water back on. And having that shut off on the left-hand side, we don't need an additional valve in order to turn it off, turn it on, and it gives us more control over the flow. So if you're in the shower and you wanted to use a little bit less water, you can just bring that flow right on down. It's not just a lever where it's either off or on. You have the ability to increase or decrease the amount of flow of water, giving you the ability to save even more water inside your shower if you're really wanting to save as much as you can for off-grid RVing. So with the combination of these two things, being able to lock in your temperature on that right-hand side and being able to dial in that flow on the left-hand side makes it a much more usable shower for the RV. The new shower valve is all metal. You can feel the quality and just the way the parts move together. This is all plastic. I remember asking an RV salesman one time, why are all the fixtures plastic inside the RV? And he said, it's to save weight. Let's be honest, it's just because it's cheap and easy to put in. They're not any easier to put in that shower valve than this one. It's cheap. Installing it went really easy. You take this access panel off so we can get to the back of the valve, and then we just have our compression fittings on there that we remove, so that way we can remove the old faucet, detach the shower head from this one, and then we just install the new one on that plate. But again, you just attach those freshwater lines, hot and cold, onto the back with those compression fittings, and then remount that plate into the shower. I did find that the temperature settings that were in there, that has an adjustment where you can pull it off, reset it where you want, because it was a little on the cooler side. If you do want to go beyond the stop, they have a button that you can press there and go beyond where it stops so you don't get too hot inside the shower. So it is an override button to make it hotter when you want it. But I adjusted it so it'd be a little hotter anyways. This way it's going to be set so I can see on there exactly where the dial is to know if I'm going to be close to the temperature of water that I want. So as a little side bonus, it makes it quicker and easier to set the flow and the temperature of the water, which is a nice benefit so you don't waste as much water when you're boondocking. Not that it's that difficult to set it on the old shower valve, it just feels a little more accurate with this one. And talking about not wasting water is a lot of times people will install or already have installed on their RV the shower miser. This is basically a valve or a bypass valve so that as that hot water is coming to the shower before you turn on the shower, you can direct that hot water back into your freshwater tank. So this would be only when you're off-grid, not connected to city water, because otherwise you'd be putting water into your freshwater tank when you necessarily wouldn't want to be. But when you're out there boondocking, you want to get that hot water right to the shower from the very beginning so you're not wasting water. That's where something like this comes into play. Kind of a clever device if you already have it installed on your RV. You can see we haven't put it on ours just because it hasn't quite been worth the trouble in order to put this on the RV, because you have to run that additional water line. If it's not already installed on your RV, you have to run an additional water line to your shower valve location so that you can have it go back to the fresh water tank. So it can be a little bit difficult depending on the size and space of your RV and the channels that you have to work in there with. But with our water heater being directly below our shower, it hasn't been worth the trouble to install this to get that instant hot water at the shower valve. But talking about the RV shower, the other thing that we did install in here is a new fan, because ours just had that really tiny white fan that doesn't move much air, but putting this one in moves a decent amount of air. So when you're taking a shower in here, it can get all of that moisture out of the bathroom. And as we continue, links are going to be down in the description to everything that we're talking about in this video, and to some of the preferences for our gear that we have. Like I mentioned, this fan, we put this one in here because we didn't have to mess with the seal on the roof of the RV. It was an easy swap out. But our preference for a fan are the Max Air fans. So each other's been a sponsor of the channel for a long time. They have lots of different options for upgrading, like the toilet. They have lots of different sizes, lots of different heights, depending on what your needs are and what your RV is. Let's move on to some of the accessories that we have in here that make this smaller space work well for us. Number one is this trash can. I like this trash can because it has an area for trash on top, but it also has the ability to store the toilet brush inside of it without taking up a ton of space. It's kind of two things that you need in the bathroom, and you don't want just that toilet brush floating around. So it's nice to have all that into one compact unit. Simple, but effective. In here, we also have a simple option, which are these bins. So we often had the problem of things falling out of here, depending on how hard we hit the brakes while we were RVing, and some of this stuff would fall out on the floor. But ever since we put them in these small little bins, all the little things you have in a bathroom medicine cabinet, it kept that from happening. So little bins helped us stay organized and kept them from falling out of the cabinet on travel days. Another thing that we've mentioned in the past is we have these wire shelves in the cabinet, and they're held up by a command hook. So we've gone over it before, how we've built them. So I'll put a link down in the description to that video if you're interested in making something like this. But it was just really easy, really effective, and pretty sturdy for it not being permanently mounted in there. Great use of the space and changeable if you ever wanted to. The other thing that we have over in here is we have a couple of toothbrush holders that mount to the wall. I made those, but there's very similar ones on Amazon. So if you're worried about your toothbrush holder tipping over or falling during a travel day, having them mounted to the wall, they're never going to fall over. I guess the other thing that we changed in here is we did get rid of the glass panels that we had for the shower in here. I kind of forgot about that one because we've had it this way for so long. We were offsetting some of the weight that we were having for solar panels on the roof, and so many people have had those glass panels shatter when they were going down the road or just sitting there, and those tracks were leaking from us from day one, and they're difficult to clean. So this shower curtain system that we had in here has worked out fantastic, and it's pretty clean. When that shower curtain is time to swap out because it's getting a little dirty, it's about the easiest way you can possibly refresh and clean that shower area. So I think that's pretty much every modification and accessory that I can think of that we use in this area that makes it good for a small space while saving water and making it comfortable to use. So it's a good combination of all that coming together to be very useful. So I think that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope there was an idea in here that's going to help you out and help you enjoy RVing even more. So as always, if we don't see you on the road, hopefully we will see you next video. Take care.